Shutdown is coming, my brother. What do you think? What do you think is gonna happen? Do you know what? Do you wanna know what I think, nah?
Yeah, man, come with it. Bring it on.
So ZIMBABWE with his South African Federation of Trade Unions, which is a group of many trade unions, they've decided to join Julius Malema for the shutdown. But I don't know, man. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know if there's gonna be a real shutdown. I think South Africans are just disconnected, man, to this whole thing. Like, don't you think South Africans have lost hope, man, in a lot of the issues that are happening in the country? Don't you think so?
I think people are tired of fighting, man. Like, we've been fighting for a very long time. I think that's why even President Mandela decided to sign some documents because people were tired, and we still are tired. And when we are not people who love to fight.
Yeah.
We are very harmonious people.
Yeah,
who
that's
love
true.
To coexist with other people.
That's true.
Even it doesn't matter what race you are. We
That's
coexist with everyone.
That's true,
So,
man.
I think, man, people are just tired of fighting, bro. And then we've been raising issues every year, bro.
And you know, every single day in South Africa, I think there's about 3 protests. 365 times in a year, there's 3 protests each one of those times. So it's 3 times 365. That's how many protests there are. More than 1,000 protests in a year, man. Like, that's sad, my brother. That's sad. And you have these people in power, man, who don't seem to be, you know, affected at all by how South Africans, especially poor South Africans, are being affected by their inaction and lack of action and lack of initiative. I've seen, man, and this is my personal conclusion that I reached, that the people who are in power in this country are not going to change anything because they don't want to. I remember we spoke about why China is China colonizing Africa. And you asked me, do I think these presidents have a choice? I told you that they have a choice, man. They choose to act or they choose to die, to not act. Acting means a lot of the times means dying, you see.
Yeah.
So there's a Tanzanian.
Is that a choice, bro?
It is a choice,
you're
man.
going to
No, it
die
is a choice.
After you make that decision.
It's better, man. It's better to die for the right thing than to live in slavery, man.
And that's a good point, because I also think it's better for one man to die.
Yeah, man. Than to sell out, man.
Like billions of people.
It's better to die, man. It's better to die. And that this is what the Afrikaners did, you see. The Afrikaners did their own thing, man, on the side. Forget about apartheid. I'm just talking about the governance now. They were doing their own little thing in South Africa, away from the international globalist agenda. You see, I remember P.W. Botha, or someone in his administration, when Mandela was about to be released, or during those years, hey, this guy, when he was angry, and he mentioned something that this country has been sold. This country has been sold, man, to the globalists, and Mandela is one of them. But remember, Mandela is not just one of them. He was recruited by other white people into the globalist agenda. What is the globalist agenda? The agenda to influence and control other countries from the outside. Globalist. Hence globalization. You have someone who's in Switzerland, who's a shareholder in South African Reserve Bank. You have the South African Reserve Bank.
Now that you mentioned the globalist agenda, wouldn't now you say Malema calling for one president in Africa is
that's very globalist. That's why I think people need to have a critical view of these politicians, Malema included. He calls for one currency, one president, one Africa. That's already part of the globalist agenda, man. You see, they want one religion, one economy, one everything. You know why? Why? Because it makes it easier to control. Now, one may argue against that and say, no, it's going to give us more power, it's going to give us more economic what. Really, though? Really, though? Because in the European Union right now, the reason why Britain exited through what they call Brexit, they realized that some of the countries are more powerful than others. Some countries are getting more for less, whereas other countries are giving more to get less. Do you understand? Countries like Germany, they benefit more in the EU than countries like Britain. So Britain decided to get out. So you can see it's already failing, this thing of, you know, putting countries together. Even NATO, America is the one that controls the narrative in NATO. It's not France. It's not Germany. It's America, man. America controls what those people do. So even if Africa would be...
But where are the white people in America coming from?
Yeah, they do come from, a lot of them, you know, the original ones, from Britain, from, you know, the UK, the original ones. And then
but wouldn't you now say if they come from these external countries like France, Britain, wouldn't you say now Britain has an influence?
No, it doesn't.
On America?
It's actually the other way around. It's the other way around. Remember, they fought during their fight for independence. They fought against the kingdom, which is why they don't have a king in America. They wanted to be free, you see. Unfortunately, they were not really free because there were other, more sinister forces at work. Remember, Freemasons, the Illuminati of Bavaria, all these secret societies. There were more forces at work to control the country from the shadows. That's why John F. Kennedy was killed. He exposed it. He spoke about it publicly, that we're not going to allow secret societies of sinister men to come and control. It's the same thing here in South Africa, actually. One of the apartheid presidents mentioned that. You see, he mentioned that about the Broederbond, that they were a sinister fascist organization, which what they were. And we could see their results in the apartheid regime that they influenced. They built all these universities and churches here so that they could influence how people view things. So America, as much as they were originally British and all that, they cut off ties. And then they were controlled by a much more sinister force, the globalists. So America is the center of the globalists right now, together with China. That's why you have World Health Organization, World Economic Forum, World this, world that. So now coming back to Julius Malema, would it be far-fetched to say he's an instrument for the global agenda? I wouldn't say so, man. When he said people must be vaccinated, I know, man. Someone must have thought twice there. You can't just foolishly accept that. Do you think that guy is vaccinated, man?
No, I think because he wants to win more people. Because even amongst ourselves, if you can say something wrong about vaccination, some people will actually bash you and say, do you want us to die of COVID?
So he started promoting that. I was so uncomfortable, man. But even worse, which I think this is where the fundamental problem with your Malemas or Malema, your Malemas and your Mandelas, ideological position. These guys are not stable or they are not upfront. So Malema said this in one, and I think he said it many times, that we are not saying that white people must go back. He said it many times, which no one said that actually. They're not going to go back anyway. Because a lot of them are even mixed. They're not really European 100%. But he said we are not saying that white people must go back to Europe. We're just asking for a seat at the table. Did you hear that, man?
Which table?
Exactly. The table of these white
what are they eating
supremacists. Exactly.
Are they eating people's heads?
Yes, yes.
What?
So, for me, that was a fundamental issue. Just like Nelson Mandela. People say Mandela was a communist, blah, blah. No! The guy was a political pragmatist. Now, pragmatism is good because pragmatism is based on practicality. You do whatever is practical. But then you need to have an ideological foundation for the context you are in. Which is why a lot of people call Mandela a sellout. He was not a communist, man. He never said he was a communist. He was a pragmatist. So in 1990, when they were negotiating in that CODESA meeting, for which there are no minutes, by the way, you want to see the minutes. You want to hear who said what, who voted for what. In 1990, when they were agreeing, he was agreeing as a pragmatist. I think he saw it as fit. Okay, let's do this. And then after 5 years, we'll do this. He saw what works, right? Or what he thought would work. That's pragmatism. Can be very dangerous in certain situations, especially in South Africa, where people were promised certain things that would not be achieved through pragmatism. Land, you cannot get land through practicality, because taking land will never be 100% practical. It will need some element of forcefulness. So land would never happen under Mandela. Taking back everything, man, just resetting the whole thing would never...
Will it ever happen?
In South Africa? I don't think so, man. That's why I'm saying, even Malema, the fundamental issue with him is that his political ideology was written down in what he says. For me, they don't align. Because he said, we just want a seat at the table. Why would you want a seat at the table? Why? Why does he want a seat at the table? When he gets that seat at the table, what's next? Because I think he's already gotten the seat at the table anyway. I think he's gotten it. This 20th of March thing might be another way to get more seats at the table. It might be. And I know people are angry right now as I'm saying these things. It's fine for you to be angry, but if you don't want to think for yourself, then go watch something else. Watch Mapiano, watch twerking ladies. If you can't think.
But I think, man, it's the easiest way maybe to get black people out of poverty, you know.
How many black people though? Because there's millions of black people in this country. You can't create 50 billionaires, man, and then tell me you've gotten people out of poverty. Because that's what BEE did. They created billionaires, you see. Billionaires. Sim Dope's father. I'm sure he had some BEE benefits somewhere. Petrus Mutsipe and all these other guys. They are billionaires. They're extremely rich, man.
But they do nothing.
Exactly. Because that's the thing. When you're extremely rich, you can't connect with people again, man. Majority of the time. Because you have to be in a particular circle. And that circle, we know who the majority of people there are. So for me, asking for a seat at the table is a bit problematic. How about you build your own table? Don't ask for a seat, take what's yours. Which is why I think land is not going to go back to the people. The EFF is not going to take land back to the people because they're just asking for a seat at the table. All those 7 cardinal pillars of land and what, it's just, I think it's opportunism, man.
And another thing with taking land, I think people are scared of the situation Zimbabwe is in currently. You see?
Understandably. That's the same thing I was mentioning when I mentioned Mcabo Dlamini and what he said about Hitler. The Jewish people showed him flames so that anyone else who wants to say the same thing will think about it first. You see, that's what the white people did to Zimbabwe. The Europeans and the Americans, they did that. Anyone who's thinking of taking land back must see what happened and be scared. And we've just fallen into that trap as well.
I think the people are not even used, like they say banks don't have money. Like you cannot withdraw money from ATMs
in Zimbabwe.
Yeah, you have to bring your own money.
I saw money in wheelbarrows sometimes. Yeah, people pushing their money in wheelbarrows and it's worthless.
They don't even use the Zimbabwean currency. They use South African rands.
That's
and
bad.
And the US dollar.
That's war. That's a war, my brother. That's how Americans and these British people will fight now. So they were teaching us a lesson that the land is not. So the land, in all likelihood, is not going to be redistributed or whatever. There might be some little bit of talk here and there, but it's not going to happen. I'm not even counting on it, man. Which is why I think if you're going to vote for the EFF, then it must not be for the land. If I would vote for the EFF, it would not be for the land, my brother. Could I vote for them? Yes. But it would have to be something else. It would be like a case of choosing a better devil, because they are all devils at the end of the day. I would never vote for the DA in any case. They are white supremacists, you see. And they're pacifiers, man. They will pacify black people. Hey, those ones, I don't even want to talk about them. So if someone's going to vote for the EFF, it might be for some other reason. Maybe because they represent black people when there's a problem in this country, like, the whole thing at the pool there. Remember, the EFF came, man. Yeah. We have to give them credit. They came at the pool and they were diving and jumping into the pool. Black, white people ran away. That's a good thing. I love it, you see. But we shouldn't have to deal with that, which is why we have to point back to the ANC being ineffective. So if you want to vote for the EFF, it might be for some reason. But forget about land and many of the other fundamental promises that the ANC made before 1994. Because that's what the EFF does. It's the same thing that the ANC said, which is not going to happen. It hasn't happened for the past 30 years. It's not going to happen, you see. Now, if you're going to vote for these guys, ANC, EFF, DA, it should not be because you think the status quo will change. Because the status quo will not change. They don't have the power to change things. They have the choice to choose and to fight, like the Tanzanian president, Pumba Magufuli, who died during COVID because he was against the whole thing of vaccination. He took samples, one from a fruit, I think it's a payapa or papaya, one from a goat, and then he labeled them with people's names. They came back positive. A fruit had COVID, man, with a PCR test. A fruit. He was like, no, this is a joke. There's not going to be vaccination here. There's no lockdown. People are continuing normal. Boom, he had a heart attack. Suddenly, he had a heart attack. So he chose that, and there were consequences. Well, when these guys, the EFF guys, choose to do something like taking the land, there's going to be consequences. And I think they will not actually choose to take the land.
According to you, brother, what would be the ideal leadership that will actually take us to where we want to go as South Africans?
And I'm not an authority on this. What I'm saying might be wrong. But I think an independent candidate would be a very good idea. And it has to be someone, man, who is deeply, highly intelligent. Someone who's highly intelligent, who's deeply patriotic. Someone who loves the country and who hates evil. At the fundamental core, I'm not saying someone who hates ANC or someone who hates EFF. Forget about those now. Because at the end of the day, those are just human beings. Someone who hates evil, who hates injustice, who wants to see right things being done. You hate it when you see an old woman in the Eastern Cape having to cross a river inside a barrel because there are no bridges. You must hate it. That thing must move you inside, man, so that you can give up anything in the world to fix it. We need someone who's like that, a deeply patriotic individual, and someone who deeply loves this country so that they can die for it. Someone who deeply loves their people so that they can die for them. So we need someone like that. We don't need a party. We don't need the EFF. We don't need the ANC. We don't need the Freedom Front Plus. We don't need any of them. We don't even need the, what's this guy, his party, Gayton McKenzie's party. But we need someone who's willing to put their life on the line to fix things. We just find a group of those people, just 10 of them, man, to be at the top of everything. And not just that. That's the qualification criterion. That's one criterion. We need people who are deeply qualified to do it, with experience, with ideas, with international understanding of things, how to run a country. That's the second criterion, merit. So we want a deeply moral and person, we want someone who's married, who has merit. And then we need someone who's practical. We cannot be doing this intellectual masturbation thing where people are just, oh, I'm an African. Oh, the valleys and the dry rivers. Oh, I'm an African. Wait now. We want practical solutions. We know you are African. Do you understand?
What I'm saying about
Thabo Mbeki is always making speeches. And I give him credit, man. Under his time, there was RDP development. At least he had an economics background, you see. So he knew what he was doing. There was a lot of development when in terms of the programs in the country, which you don't see anymore now. So I give him credit for that. All I'm saying is that now is no longer time for those poems and all those things. It's good, you know, I'm an African, all that. But then, do people have food to eat at night? Do people have houses to sleep, beds to sleep on? Do you see what I mean, man? Yeah, so we don't need poems and ideological masturbation. There's a time and a place for that. Right now, what this country needs is someone who wants to do what needs to be done to fix the things that need to be fixed in this country. Not a party. So don't be fooled by these cult leaders called party leaders. Don't be like in a cult. Think for yourself. Nah?
You maybe have someone in mind already.
Myself. Myself, man.
Come on, bro.
No, I'm not kidding. But not now. I'm not ready yet, you see. But myself. And you would be my deputy there.
Come on now. Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it. Why not, man? Why do we have to take someone from the EFF or from the Freedom Front? These guys, you can see they are useless, man. We need someone, a true South African, man, who has ideas, you know, who has fresh ideas to fix things. So right now, do I think there's anyone who can do the job? I think there's a lot of people who can do the job, man. I think there's a lot.
Those leaders over-compromise for entrepreneurs and businesses.
Bro. Yeah.
Because even if you can get someone who's an entrepreneur who's very good in business, that person will end up compromising people's well-being and the quality of the standard of living. And, you know...
that's why I'm saying it must be someone who really loves the people of this country, man. Like, who's deeply moved by the love of the people. Because it might need to be tough love at some point. It might need to be tough love. He might need to make some tough decisions that people are going to cry over. But because there's a vision. What is the South African vision, man, for the future? What is the plan? What's the agenda in South Africa? Just tell me. Do you know it?
Which one?
Exactly. Even the people who are watching, what is the South African vision, guys? Do we have a vision in this country? We don't know it.
I think the Minister of Finance did a budget speech.
No, there is a vision. The National Development Plan of 2030.
I'm not sure.
There is a vision. People don't know it to show how useless that vision is. So you need someone who's going to take that vision, put it everywhere, on TV, on radio stations, everywhere, in schools. When a child goes to grade 1, they must be programmed to achieve that vision. That's why it must be a vision that comes from a place of love for the people. You program everyone in the population to achieve that vision. That's how the Chinese government do it. Everyone is like a robot there, my brother, doing focusing on the vision of China, which is why they managed to uplift 600 million people in 20 years out of poverty. In China, 1.4 billion people, almost half of that in 20 years were out of poverty. Why? Because they are following the Chinese vision. From school, from crash, man, that guy, Xi Jinping, and the engineers with him, with which he's leading the country, they program everyone, children, young people. They manipulate even the soft social media. You go to TikTok, you give them rules, Baba. TikTok, you don't play content like this in this country. Facebook, you don't show content like this in this country, or you are banned. Twitter, you don't show content like this. TikTok in China is controlled, man. There's no Google in China. You're not gonna find a child going to Google Pornhub or Google this. They use their own Chinese government-controlled systems. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? You decide for yourself. But will it help the government to achieve the vision? 100% guaranteed. It will help the government to achieve the vision. But
who is controlling our social media algorithms right now?
CIA
and maybe that could
and
help us
MI5
to find whose agenda we follow.
It's the CIA and the MI5, my brother. All foreign interests. It's foreign interests. That's why today, even our culture is a laughing stock with amongst our people. You see, they don't respect our culture. So that's what we need, man. We need people who love this country, who have the skills and the experience to deliver what's needed, who have ideas, people who have ideas and fresh ideas to make things happen, and people who are willing to take the tough decisions that need to be taken, man. You can't always want to please everyone. But then if you can sell the vision first, we must buy into the vision. When you ask a 10-year-old child, what is the vision of South Africa? Just like a vision of a company, man. Remember, a company has a vision, organizational objectives. Each year they sit down and be like, for this financial year, this is the organizational objective. In South Africa, we just had a budget speech. You can ask any random person on the street what was discussed in the budget speech. Do you think they know?
How far are you with the plans that you discussed?
Exactly.
Budget speech?
Exactly. So we need someone who's going to start from there, man. The vision of the country.
Yeah.
Why was it developed and what is it? How we achieve it now, you must program everyone to accept that vision. But it must come from a purely and 100% absolutely committed place to make sure that the lives of the people are bettered. And then you must grill everyone and make sure that people understand this vision. Not everyone needs to agree with it, but at least people must be able to see this is how it's going to benefit me. This is how it's going to benefit my company. And I think that's one of the solutions to build this country, man. In terms of do we have the right people? We have the right people, man. We have the right people. We've got people, man, in the tech industry, people who helped to build fundamental aspects of Amazon Web Service are here in South Africa. We know some of the best engineers in the world are here in South Africa.
Elon Musk is a South African.
You see? Some of the best doctors in the world are here in South Africa. The first penile transplant in the world was done here. The first heart transplant done here. The first ear surgery, successful ear surgery was done here in South Africa. What else do we need, man? We've got these people. You can take a doctor, man, make them the Minister of Medicine, of Health.
That would make sense.
Why not? Do you hear what I'm saying? That's all we need. People who are willing to take the decisions that need to be taken. You take 5 football legends in this country. Take Benny McCarthy, you take Pitso Mosimane, you take Lucas Radebe, you take the younger ones, 5 of them. You create a committee, man, that's going to report to the Minister of Sport. You make one of them the Minister of Sport. That's it. Not just soccer. I'm just making an example.
Minister of Education has to be
someone who's
professor,
You take a professor and you take student leaders or young lecturers. They report to that professor and then you make them. That's all you need, man. Why do you need to have Ukwa Demandashe running the Mineral Resource Department?
Come on now.
Why? Why do you have Blade in Zimande running higher education department? She can't even read out the numbers. She can't read them, man. But she's the Minister of Basic Education. No wonder we have such low literacy rates in this country. Because she can't read herself. What rubbish is going on here? So, comrades of the ANC, we plead with you, man. Let go now, guys. Let go. Your time is done. Please allow younger people, because we are the ones who are inheriting this country, man, in this situation that it's in. People who are going to be leading in the police industry, in the police sector, it must be people who are deeply experienced and qualified in that.
Do you really think now that ANC's time has passed, or is there something that we can do maybe to influence ANC to include more young people into leadership positions?
I don't think we can do anything to influence them. There's nothing that they don't know, man, about. They know exactly what they need to do to get certain results. The problem is not lack of capacity, but lack of willingness to take advantage of that capacity. They have capacity to change. So in terms of us, we need to do more to influence them. We don't need to do anything for them. They must get out of power. Do I think their time is up? Well, I don't think so, honestly, man. I don't think they will just die in jail, you see. A lot of people are not even voting in this country, which means they would vote for the ANC otherwise. The people who are not voting would rather vote for the ANC, because if I don't vote, that means I don't want to vote for the DA, I don't want to vote for the EFF, I don't want to vote for the IFP. They would vote the ANC.
They are not voting because they don't like what the ANC is.
Yes, otherwise if they liked it, they would vote the ANC.
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%. I mean, the ANC, man, they've got the best, they're the best candidates to run the country on paper. Do you see? All things equal, regardless, no, separating their record in terms of who's in the better position to run the country, né? From all these parties. They're the best candidates, which is why they're there. But now, they're the worst performing ones. So I don't think it's their time to be out of power yet, but I don't think they will get a majority anytime soon. If, and that's a big if they can change, man, like at all levels, I promise you, my brother, with 100% certainty, if they can include more young people and do more implementation and deliver more services in 1 year, I promise you with 100% certainty, ANC would get that majority again. In South Africa, people love the ANC, man. People love it. It's like an abusive relationship, you know, with the ANC. We keep on, you know, rooting for them. They keep on raping us. We keep on rooting for them. They keep on raping us. And they apologize the next day. And I know you will accept that apology. Oh, baby, so sorry. They keep on raping. And I don't mean to be insensitive about rape victims, but it literally is what they are doing to us. So I don't think the ANC we can influence them in any way. It has to be something from within. But then, the rot is so deeply entrenched in the ANC that they might not recover, man. They will die a slow death. Do I think the EFF will get a majority anytime in this country? Never. It's not going to happen. The EFF is not going to run the country as a majority party. They can run it under coalition. I think Julius Malema understands this. One of the political analysts was saying that Julius Malema, if Paul Mashatile, I'm not sure if it's Paul Mashatile, but I think it is, if Paul Mashatile becomes the president, right now he's the deputy. If he becomes the president, Julius Malema will be a deputy president in coalition. So under coalition, that's the only time that the DA or the EFF or any other party will have influence over this country, when there's a coalition. Otherwise, the DA will never get a majority and the EFF will never get a majority. Not now, not ever. No other party will ever get a majority in this country. Only the ANC can get a majority. I'm done.